Let me just ask you, I don't mean to interrupt you, but my time is going to tick down here quite quickly. I just want to get clear on this. Is it your position that restrictions on the flow of illegal migrants, just to be, well, let me just ask you this more fundamentally. Do you believe we have a crisis at the southern border?
Senator, I do not believe it is my position to opine on such policy questions. I think those policy questions are very important for
But you're a member
this
of a
body.
board of directors. You're a director at an organization that has taken many such positions. So it seems to me you have taken a position. Your organization certainly has. You represent them. You're a member of that board. You choose your time very carefully, as we established just a moment ago. They say that any restriction on the flow of illegal migrants, I want to be clear about this, illegal migrants is abhorrent. It is a betrayal of American values. It's cruel and inhumane. Is that your position?
What you just watched is exactly why moments like this matter. Welcome back to Congress Lens. I'm Audrey, and today we're talking about what I believe was one of the most necessary and direct confirmation hearing exchanges we've seen in a long time. Senator Josh Hawley did not come to play. He came prepared, he came with documentation, and most importantly, he came with very simple yes or no questions. And when someone is being considered for a lifetime judicial appointment, clarity should not be optional. This wasn't about grandstanding. This was oversight. If someone wants to sit on the federal bench and interpret the law for the American people, then the American people deserve clear answers about that person's record, affiliations, and public positions. Before we break this all down, make sure you like this video, subscribe to Congress Lens, and drop a comment below. Do you think Senator Josh Hawley was being fair, or was the nominee dodging? Let's get into it.
Ms. Gonzalez, if I could just start with you. I was just looking at your resume here. It's very full. You look like someone who's very busy. You're a counsel at a law firm presently, Kaplan, Hecker and Fink. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator, that is correct.
And also a co-director at a civil rights clinic at Howard. Is that correct? Got that right?
That's correct, Senator.
So it doesn't look like to me you have a lot of free time. I imagine that you choose what you invest your time in very carefully. Is that fair to say?
Yes, Senator.
You are also on the board of a group called the Immigrant Justice Corps. Do I have that right?
Yes, Senator.
Let me just ask you about this group that you are a part of, that you're a board of directors, a member of, and the positions they've taken. They've taken a lot of positions. You've taken a lot of positions when it comes to immigration policy, including saying recently that this president's policy, President Biden's recent policy to restrict temporarily some of the flow across our southern border, when on a given day there are multiple thousands of illegal migrants crossing. The president said that after there are multiple thousands on any given day, he would temporarily restrict somewhat the flow, but which, by the way, I think is way too late in the game. He should be doing much more. Your group, however, has been exceptionally critical of this. They have said that any restriction of the flow across the southern border is an abhorrent betrayal of American values and is inhumane, cruel and inhumane, to be precise. Tell me about that. Is it your view that any enforcement of our immigration law, that if we have anything other than an open border, the policy is cruel, inhumane, and an abhorrent betrayal of American values?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I do not believe that statement to reflect a request for open borders. I have never taken that position. I can tell you, I'm not familiar with that particular statement. I can tell you why I joined the organization, the board of the organization, and it is because I believe in its mission to provide quality counsel to individuals who are going through removal proceedings. It was an idea that was inspired by the late Judge Katzmann's study about the efficiencies of providing such counsel to individuals who are going through removal proceedings. And I understand that the organization engages in advocacy and policy, and that if confirmed, my role as a judge would be to put any such advocacy and policy aside.
Well, let me just ask you, I don't mean to interrupt you, but my time is going to tick down here quite quickly. I just want to get clear on this. Is it your position that restrictions on the flow of illegal migrants, just to be, well, let me just ask you this more fundamentally. Do you believe we have a crisis at the southern border?
Senator, I do not believe it is my position to opine on such policy questions. I think those policy questions are very important for this body.
But you're a member of a board of directors. You're a director at an organization that has taken many such positions. So it seems to me you have taken a position. Your organization certainly has. You represent them. You're a member of that board. You choose your time very carefully, as we established just a moment ago. They say that any restriction on the flow of illegal migrants, I want to be clear about this, illegal migrants is abhorrent. It is a betrayal of American values. It's cruel and inhumane. Is that your position?
Senator, I'm not familiar with that specific statement. My
June
affiliation,
5th, 2024. It's a press release from your organization.
My affiliation with the organization does not commit me to every position it takes
So this
on
is
law
not your
and policy.
position?
No, Senator.
You disagree with this?
Senator, I joined the organization to support its mission to provide counsel to individuals going through removal
Okay, let me
proceedings.
ask you about that since you bring that up. You have also advocated for providing counsel, in fact, taxpayer-funded counsel, to every asylum seeker at our border. Do you know how many credibility and fear determinations the Customs and Immigration Service performed just in 2023 at the southern border?
No, Senator, I am not aware of that number.
146,000. 146,000 in 2023 alone. So you are in favor of taxpayer funding for attorneys for at least 146,000 illegals. Is that right?
Senator, I was counsel on 2 matters that advocated for the right of counsel for a limited class of non-citizens.
This is your organization that you're a member of the board of directors of. On May 27, 2022, your organization submitted this official comment to a DHS rule in which you specifically advocated for counsel to be provided at government expense to all asylum seekers. I mean, that's quite a position. So we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people are going to get illegal migrants are going to get government-funded attorneys under your proposal. Is that right? Is that your position?
Senator, any policy position that I have taken in my role as an advocate, I understand that I would be taking an oath to put that aside and to dedicate myself instead to the fair and impartial application of the law, and that is what I commit to you I would do in every case.
Do you still think that detaining people at the border is motivated by, I'm quoting now, motivated by financial incentives and political calculations rather than any legitimate or evidence-based purpose?
Senator, I'm not familiar with that statement.
Well, that's from another statement made by your organization in September 22nd, 2021. Let me just say it again. Detaining people at the border is motivated by financial incentives and political calculations rather than any legitimate or evidence-based purpose. That just seems crazy to me, to say that enforcing our laws and detaining folks who are here illegally, crossing illegally, is motivated solely by financial incentives and political calculations. Do you agree with that?
Senator, I joined the organization to support its mission to provide counsel.
Yeah, I've heard that answer, but do you agree with this? You're a member of the board of directors of this organization that frankly has taken crazy positions over and over. I'm just wondering if you agree with these positions. So this is just a yes or no. Do you agree that detaining people at the border is motivated solely by financial incentives and political calculations?
Senator, I'm not familiar with that position.
But do you agree with it? It's from your organization that you sit on the board of directors of. Just do you agree with it? Yes or no?
Senator, I'm not familiar with the context.
Do you agree with it? You're not going to answer my question, sounds like.
Senator,
You just say yes if you agree. That's fine. But say no if you don't. I mean, I'd like a yes or no answer. It's a simple question. You're on the board of directors. They've issued this. Do you agree? Yes or no?
Senator, I joined the organization to support its
Oh,
mission.
goodness. This is
provide-
disappointing. I don't understand why won't you answer me? Are you afraid of the answer that won't be popular? I mean, why are you distancing yourself from it now? Aren't you still a member of this organization? You're still on the board, aren't you?
Yes, Senator, I still sit on the board.
Okay. Well, so you don't agree with any of these positions? You won't say now whether you agree or not. Is it because they're so radical?
Senator, my personal position on any policy issue would play no role in the job that I would perform as a judge if I were to be confirmed.
You've also written a paper in which you say that you don't think police ought to enforce traffic laws because it may lead to inequity. Do you remember that paper from 2023?
Yes, Senator.
Why is that? You don't want police to enforce traffic laws? I mean, it just seems to me, I'm having trouble following your positions here. You don't want the immigration laws to be enforced. You apparently think that any detention of illegals at the border is motivated by political calculations and is illegitimate, and you don't want police to be enforcing traffic laws. But you want to be a judge. How's this going to work?
Senator, the piece that you are citing documented efforts by cities along with police departments, and in some cases actually led by police departments, to move enforcement of things like hanging an air freshener from a rear view mirror to, for example, ticket by mail or parking enforcement, which would in turn free up police resources to focus on more serious enforcement.
I'm almost done, Mr. Chairman. Not just that, though. I mean, I encourage people to read the paper. In fact, I've got it right here. It's 14 pages. Mr. Chairman, I'd ask consent to enter into the record the road to driving equality. Frankly, it is full of positions that I think are just nuts. I mean, saying that things like running traffic lights, stop signs, these things can't be enforced, that the police ought to get out of enforcement of traffic laws altogether. I mean, I don't understand it. It sounds like to me you don't want enforcement at the border, you don't want enforcement of our traffic laws, you don't want police enforcement in our cities. I just question whether that is a good set of perspectives to be a judge whose job will be to enforce the law. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now that we've watched the full exchange, let's talk about what really happened here. Senator Josh Hawley focused his questioning on Ms. Gonzalez's role on the board of the Immigrant Justice Corps. This wasn't random. Board membership is not symbolic. It signals leadership, influence, and responsibility for the direction an organization takes. When Hawley cited statements from the organization calling border enforcement inhumane and a betrayal of American values, that mattered. That is not mild criticism. That is a sweeping moral condemnation of federal law enforcement policy. Here's the issue. Instead of clearly saying, "I disagree with that," or, "Yes, I stand by that," Ms. Gonzalez repeatedly said she was unfamiliar with the statements. From my perspective, if you sit on the board of an advocacy organization that is deeply involved in national immigration debates, you should know the major public positions being made in your organization's name. That is not nitpicking. That is accountability. Then we moved into the issue of taxpayer-funded legal counsel for asylum seekers. Senator Hawley pointed out that there were over 146,000 credible fear determinations in a single year. That is not a small program. That is potentially hundreds of thousands of cases funded by taxpayers. So the question was straightforward. Do you support that or not? The response was essentially that any prior advocacy would be set aside if confirmed as a judge. Of course, judges are expected to put advocacy aside. That is the oath. But confirmation hearings exist specifically to examine whether past advocacy reveals a worldview that could shape how someone interprets the law. Hawley was not asking how Ms. Gonzalez would rule in a specific case. He was asking whether she personally agrees with strong ideological statements made by an organization she helps lead. Then came the discussion about the 2023 paper, The Road to Driving Equality. Hawley raised concerns that the paper suggested police should step back from enforcing certain traffic laws. Ms. Gonzalez explained that the paper discussed shifting enforcement of minor violations to alternative methods so police could focus on more serious crimes. That explanation may sound reasonable to some, but Hawley's broader point was about pattern. Immigration enforcement framed as immoral. Border detention described as politically motivated. Traffic enforcement questioned due to equity concerns. From Hawley's perspective, and from the perspective of many viewers, that points to a consistent ideological direction. And when someone is being nominated to interpret federal law, ideology matters. What stood out most was how often Hawley asked for simple clarity. Not hypotheticals. Not trick questions. Just do you agree or not? Repeated refusal to answer does not build confidence. It raises concern. To be fair, nominees often avoid taking firm policy positions during confirmation hearings. That is common. But there is a difference between avoiding future rulings and avoiding responsibility for public statements made by an organization you help lead. That distinction matters. Senator Josh Hawley's role in that moment was not to be polite. It was to vet, scrutinize, and test. That is what advice and consent looks like. Whether you agree with Hawley politically or not, this exchange showed preparation, persistence, and a clear focus on enforcement of the law and judicial accountability. At the end of the day, this was not about theatrics. It was about whether a judicial nominee can convincingly separate advocacy from adjudication and explain that separation under pressure. And in my view, Senator Josh Hawley exposed the fact that those answers were not as clear as they should have been. Let me know what you think in the comments. Was this fair oversight or political pressure? I'm Audrey, and this is Congress Lens.